I like to build all kinds of things. For work, for fun, it's deeply ingrained in who I am. But first and foremost, I am a problem solver. Things can absolutely exist without reason. As soon as it requires a significant time contribution from me, then I feel like they owe my busy schedule a justification, even if it's a minimal one. So when I'm building things specifically for me, I try to make sure they're fulfilling a need. Sure, I like to make cool, impressive things, but I feel far more satisfied when those creations serve a purpose beyond form. There are few things I enjoy more than eliminating pain points, and one that I've been meaning to tackle for a while is a literal pain point. Holding on to little pieces while filing and sanding, clenching my muscles for hours on end, absolutely kills my left hand. Right about here. I keep thinking to myself there must be a better way, some kind of clenching device. I'm Dylan, this is Punker Builds, and let's make a very specific tool. Endless possibilities is a daunting place for anyone to start. A blank page can be fairly intimidating, so instead I've defined some parameters. My main goal is to create a vise to hold small pieces of sheet metal. I want it to attach to my existing bench pin where I already do all of my filing and sanding. It has to be low profile as to not impact my ability to saw at the bench, and its action should be quick and accessible. With those parameters defined, I sketched up some ideas and jumped into modeling it in Rhino. Once I sourced the spring I wanted to use, I modeled it in both its compressed and extended positions. The spring will never be fully compressed, and its functional range is limited by its full extension. By having this in the model, I can factor this amount of functional travel into the vise, as well as accommodate for the spring's expansion across its diameter while compressed. Although I have a general idea of what I'm looking for example, I wanted to use a cam lever for the fast clamping action. These designs are iterative, based on trial and error. I like to think of it as clay-like, a balance between push and pull, guiding the design through refinement. This is the 7th version, or 7th pass of refinement in meeting the project needs. I try to race through the earlier iterations. I've learned that they're not precious, and whatever early concepts I have are going to shift. Being prepared to adapt helps to not get bogged down in the details of a version that's just going to get discarded. This is the final version I've landed on. It's ready to be printed out and put through its paces. For this test, I'll print it in PETG and it can go right into service in a matter of hours. If you also gravitate towards this kind of problem solving, consider subscribing. After quickly removing the supports, I install the prototype on my bench pin and give it a go. When possible, I try to use off-the-shelf parts. I used a 1/4-inch carriage bolt and a cross-barrel nut in the cam lever. This cross-barrel nut is the same type that you would find in furniture. It attaches to the underside with wood screws, though the lever has to come off to access the rear screw hole. I could make that screw location off-center, but I don't want to throw off the symmetry. It's a really good start, but there's a couple challenges. The tolerance is acceptable, but the rigidity is not. It sucks in quite a bit, especially when the workpiece is off-center. It doesn't produce quite enough grip. I can really reef it down, which helps a lot with grip, but once I release it, it's actually too tight to get the part out. At this point, it's so tight I can't get any other piece back in. It defeats the quick accessibility I wanted. If only it could be metal. But wait! It can! JLC 3DP is the sponsor of this video, offering over 20 different materials, from standard resins to engineering-grade nylons, metals, and plastics. JLC 3DP is a professional online 3D printing service. Their easy-to-navigate website utilizes an instant quoting system and real-time tracking. With a 48-hour standard lead time and door-to-door delivery, JLC 3DP has very competitive pricing with 3D printing starting at 30 cents and up to $70 coupons available to new users. For this bench vise project, I ordered their 316L stainless steel, and the parts they sent me were well packed and arrived safely. Not that these pieces couldn't take some abuse. I'm really impressed with the high quality of these prints. They were created via the Selective Laser Melting Process, or SLM, which is a really cool process worth watching a couple videos on. Be sure to check out the $70 coupon available at the link in the description of this video. You might have noticed that one of these is dirtier than the others, and that's because this is the one that I've been playing with for a while. I am just so blown away. I genuinely can't keep my hands off these parts. They're super cool. On their website, they have a printing requirements guide. My logo line size is slightly under their minimum requirement here. I had to accept the risk of detail loss for them to agree to print this part. I'm not seeing any loss that would be of concern though. I think it looks great, and this is plenty crisp for me. The SLM process was advertised as plus or minus 0.3mm dimensional accuracy. All of the parts I've received are well within that tolerance, though these parts are quite small in comparison to the possible build size of 250mm by 250mm by 292mm. To make sure that I ended up with one functioning vise at the end of all of this, I ordered enough parts for 3 different vises. Their design guide has a minimum requirement for wall thickness, text width and depth, as well as notes to accommodate for hole shrinkage and clearance on moving parts. With my regular FDM printers, I usually print with a 0.15mm clearance. For SLM printing, they recommend a minimum of 0.1 to 0.2mm clearance, but taking into account that plus or minus 0.3mm accuracy and the risk of some shrinkage when printing holes, I figured I might have to do some finessing of parts to get them to fit. So one set is 0.15mm clearance, the second set is 0.3mm clearance, and the third set is 0.5mm clearance. The 0.15mm clearance that I would usually use on my printers turned out to work perfectly. The 0.3mm one was okay, but the 0.5 was definitely too loose. It should be noted that the results are going to vary based on the shape and size of the parts. So just because this clearance works on these parts for me, doesn't mean that it'll be the same for all parts. For comparison, the Petchy print weighed in at 73 grams, the stainless parts weighed in at a whopping 487 grams. Hardware was included in both weights. To stop the parts from wearing, I used 2 nylon washers between the moving parts. Lo and behold, the rigidity problem is solved. The grip strength is significantly increased, and the sloped front allows me to approach these parts from a really aggressive angle. I added this V-shape in the jaw. You can find it on some vises. It's for holding round shapes. It's great for small pieces up to about 3/8 of an inch, but it doesn't help nearly as much at 1/2 inch or bigger. Now that it's all set up, let's finish up that project I was working on. Sponsors aside, these parts are awesome. The average person having this kind of technology a few clicks away is an astonishing advancement, especially at this price point. Before we run the final shots, thanks for watching this Vise build, and subscribe to see whatever thing I happen to build next. Also, thanks to JLC 3DP for sponsoring this video. I recently had to buy a whole bunch of double ear hose clamps, and I like the step down shape, so I thought I'd blast out a quick ring while I was thinking about it.